Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here to discuss and review, talk about, sort of torn about this one, the fabulous, historical Georges Thill, Ninon Vallin, Germaine Ferraldi chorus and orchestra of the Paris Opera under Elie Cohen, Massenet Werther. Well, what is there to say about this? As you know, I am not normally a fan of historical recordings simply because they're historical. In other words, there are very, very few works that I believe have not been performed better, or at least as well, maybe differently, but as well, as validly well, in better sonics than this was recorded, the 1931 recording of Massenet's opera. And I have to say, there are exceptions. Exceptions are valid, to my mind, when the performing style or something about it doesn't exist anymore. And so you have an opportunity to hear something in a way in which it used to be frequently played, but which is not going to be played today. Well, this is kind of one of those. At least I think it's one of those. I mean, you may have heard, if you're a normal classical music person, you may have heard somewhere over on the horizon this whole business about French style singing, the French style of opera singing, which has disappeared, which is gone, which no longer exists. And why it no longer exists is a very long and involved story that we don't need to go into. But the bottom line is that there was a school of French singing, and that school has largely vaporized. And if you really want to know what that school was about at its best, there are two recordings you really need to have. One is the Roger Desormières, Pélias et Mélisande, which we've talked about. And the other is this one, the Georges Thill, Ninon Vallin, Werther. Manon, same thing. No, it's not the same thing. This is the other one that you really need to hear. And this is on Naxos Historical, very well restored by my good friend Ward Marston, he does wonderful restorations. Although Jed Disler, in his review for this on ClassicsToday.com, and there are two reviews of this on ClassicsToday.com, which you can go look at, actually felt that EMI might have been working from a better source because there's less sort of overload and loud moments than you hear here. But the actual sonics for 1931, I mean, you hear the voices. There's an orchestra there, clearly. It's not a very long opera. The plot. Does it have a plot? Yeah, it does. The plot is that Charlotte and Werther love each other. Charlotte is promised to somebody else. She marries the somebody else. Werther is miserable. That's the plot. The entire plot. And it takes, 71 minutes and, not 74 because it doesn't do the whole thing. Well, it takes about, let's just say 2 hours to get through that. The music is beautiful. It's beautiful. It's lovely. It's romantic. It's sad. It's delightful. And these singers, Georges Thill, tenor, and Ninon Vallin, soprano. Charlotte is often a mezzo. Here she's a soprano, which is fine because she's a wonderful soprano. She's a wonderful singer, and Georges Thill was a great French tenor, of whom there are not many left, although Roberto Alagna can be. He's also a native French speaker, and he recorded this, which is probably the greatest modern stereo recording of Werther. But they are wonderful. And Elie Cohen, the conductor, and you've got Paris Forces, the Paris, what is this, from the children's chorus, Paris Chorus and Orchestra, well, whatever that is. The Paris Chorus and the Paris Opera. There we are. It just says Paris Chorus and Orchestra on the back here. But it's the Paris Opera. These are people who know the work. They feel the work. It's in their bones. And a lot of what you might call, a school of singing simply is a question of familiarity with the music and how it was performed. In 1931, it wasn't so long that Massenet was around. So they certainly knew how to do it. And do it they do. You have in French singing, first of all, French singing is very different from French speaking. The enunciation is different. And because French is such a back of the throat language, it's all like this, ce, sans, 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 sans. they are 100 meaningless sounds. Differentiate all of those vowels. They're all the back. So when you sing and you have to sing forward, in addition to the pronunciation things where you pronounce E's at the end of words and, nonsense, things like that. It was definitely a school of singing that valued clarity and really, really good diction and a certain lightness of tone and elegance of style and all of these things that you can hear in this beautiful performance with the best possible singers. And so, I'm tempted to put this in the category of, greatest recordings ever, because it's a very great recording. It certainly is. But the sonics for me kind of rule that out because it is just old. And I don't know if there is a greatest recording ever of Werther at this point. If there were one, this would probably have to be the one. But I do recommend, so that you get a feel for the style and a feel for the sound of it, give it a shot. You also get a whole bunch of arias from other Massenet operas with Georges Thill, who was just a remarkably fine tenor. You get Le Cid and Hérédiade and Manon and Sappho. He sings bits of those, which make for a wonderful bonus. It's sort of everything you need to know about French opera, but we're afraid to ask in one little inexpensive 2-disc set. And so it's worth hearing. Definitely worth hearing, worth collecting. And even if you don't spend a lot of time, you can probably hear it all on YouTube, frankly. You're in good shape. You can get a sense, because the voices are very well captured, of what all the folderol is about, all the discussion about the great school of French singing. And it was a great school, and the singing is wonderful. So you can do it with one not too expensive purchase and not make yourself crazy after that. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.